OK, but first, some breaking transfer news for you. Manchester United's second bid for Bryan Mbeumo has been rejected by Brentford. The bid was worth £62.5 million, which is what they paid Wolves for Matheus Cunha. We understand Brentford want at least £65 million for the forward. Talks between the clubs are continuing. The player, though, does want to join United. More info as we get it right here on Sky Sports News. Also more information on skysports.com on our live transfer blog.
Manchester United fans starting to think, is Cunha going to be the only player we get? We spoke a bit about Mbeumo. Still, you think he's probably favouring that move to Old Trafford. Anything else for Manchester United fans, Doms?
I mean, I don't think Cunha and Mbeumo will be the only signings that come into United. There are other priority positions that they are looking at strengthening United. Maybe a midfielder, and there's all this talk about interest in various goalkeepers, depending on what happens with Andre Onana. But again, I mentioned again, it is early in the window, and United got their first one over the line really, really quickly in Cunha, and are continuing talks to get the Mbeumo one over the line. I think once those two are done, it's more or less the budget I think that United had for this transfer window, and then any other deals that they want to do will likely be dependent. There are, of course, clever ways that you can do financial deals, but likely they would want to start offloading players as well from that squad and trying to recoup some money, particularly in the likes of Alejandro Garnacho and Marcus Rashford, who would, of course, represent pure profit in their PSR books. And then the likes of Jadon Sancho and Anthony, who they would want to sell and would make, no doubt, an absolutely humongous loss on. But, you know, when I talk about Manchester United and the mistakes that, shall we say, that they have made in the last few years, particularly in recruitment, sometimes it's down to a club just to take the hit sometimes. And if you look back at what happened with Arsenal when Mikel Arteta took over, they were languishing in 8th position in his first season. It wasn't looking great. There were huge doubts about whether Mikel Arteta was the right man to be in charge of Arsenal. But he decided then that despite this new contract that Aubameyang had been given and various other players, he said, at some point, we've got to take the hit because we're not going to be able to move forward otherwise. And that's exactly what they've done. And they've been allowed to build under Arteta to the point where in the last 3 seasons, yes, I know rival fans will take the mick by saying they're second again. But the fact that they are challenging means that they must have done something right. So from Manchester United's perspective, after having the season that they've just had, Ruben Amorim, despite thinking he didn't want to come mid-season, probably the best thing he did, because he's seen firsthand how really bad it is at United and which players he's going to be able to trust going forward. And so that, I think, will be the priority after Mbeumo comes in, to see if they can start getting money for some of these players that Ruben Amorim doesn't want in his squad, so that he can then fund other transfers for the remainder of the window.
Well, there could be players going out, Dan. You know, the likes of Marcus Rashford's been linked with Barcelona, Jadon Sancho being linked with Juventus. There's a lot of talk about Alejandro Garnacho as well, maybe a move to Chelsea. How important is it that Manchester United get players like that off the books?
Yeah, I think it is obviously really important. They need to sell before they can keep making more moves in the market. And I think it does look like Rashford, Sancho and Garnacho, as you say, are, 3 players who, for different reasons, are going to leave this summer. It looks like I like Garnacho for what it's worth. I think he's got good potential, but it doesn't look like he's got a working relationship going forward with Amorim, does it? Rashford, I think, his kind of time at United has just kind of come to an end. It feels like he's sort of trying to rebrand himself as a number 9 to perhaps attract Barca's interest, because obviously they've now got Williams and Yamal, so they're pretty well stocked in